It's another Metropolitan matchup for the Blue Jackets. They face the Capitals for the first time this season, and there's something wrong with the Washington Capitals. We'll talk about what that is on today's Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster. With me is my co-host, Hayden Houseman. We're here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and ours, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day. If you want to become an everydayer, you can find us on every podcast app of choice, on YouTube, and on SiriusXM. So, the Capitals... Well, I was going to say the Capitals are in town. They're not. The Blue Jackets are in DC. It's fine. But first matchup of the season, the Blue Jackets it's not a winning streak. Winning one game is not a streak, but the Capitals are coming off of a shutout in New York from the Islanders, and they have not been producing like you would expect the Capitals to produce. Alex Ovechkin is still leading this team in points, but he only has 2 goals in 9 games so far. That's extremely weird. Their leading goal scorer is Dylan Strome, who has 6 goals in 9 games. He's doing the Kirill Marchenko thing of only goals, no assists, which is very fun. Love that for him. But this is not the Capitals that we are used to, I think. They only have 9 points. They are 4-4-1, so below the Blue Jackets in the standings, which is a strange place for them to be. They've only scored 19 goals in total. And they are at minus 10 goal differential. Very, very strange. What are your thoughts on what's happening with the Capitals this season, Hayden? Because it's, like I said, it's something that we're not super used to.
Yeah, I mean, similarly to the Blue Jackets, they went through a coaching hire this past year, ended up taking Spencer Carberry, who is, I believe, I want to say this without even researching, I want to say he was a hire from within, a guy that had spent, I want to say that, but let me confirm.
I believe he was the Maple Leafs assistant coach.
Correct.
But again, I could be wrong on that also.
You are correct. Yes, he had spent the last 2 seasons with the Toronto Maple Leafs behind their bench. So they nonetheless pulled an assistant coach into a head coaching role. And so I see them and I'm like, they're probably also a team trying to figure out what their identity is other than just we have Alex Ovechkin, so we should be in the Stanley Cup playoffs every year. I mean, they also have they have tons of other good players too, that it's like, head scratching, like, why aren't these players playing better? I'm talking about TJ Oshie, John Carlson, Evgeny Kuznetsov. They've also just, for some reason, decided to totally reinvigorate Sonny Milano's career. He's just been like...
Sonny Milano is absolutely scoring a goal tonight. Like, we should all prepare ourselves emotionally for that. It's going to be a Sonny Milano revenge game. I do want to just one more thing about Spencer Carberry is he coached the Capitals AHL team between 2018 and 2021. So he was not technically a hire from within, but he was someone that they were very familiar with before the hire.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's good news for them. I mean, like, good news for me, rather, that it wasn't totally
Hayden
crazy.
does know puck, you guys.
But yeah, Jay, it just... For me, it felt like even last year for Washington that they were kind of just floating in the territory of when is Ovi going to get to, what is the number, 894, I believe. When is he going to get to that number, which is the Wayne Gretzky all-time goal record? I believe it's 894. I haven't been
that up right now.
I was like, I have not been watching Ovi enough if I don't know that he's chasing 894.
894, yes. He's currently on 824, so he's 70 goals away.
So, like, in theory, he should be completing that next year. Like, he should be there. But He's only got 2 goals this year, as you said. He doesn't seem like he's even thinking about the record when he's on the ice. Like, he is very simply not playing the kind of hockey that would lead somebody to believe that he is chasing just a goal record at the end of his career. It seems like he's very involved with their offense, both just shooting and moving the puck around. Like, there's been a couple games this year where I'm like, Alex Ovechkin's chasing a goal record. I'm going to bet on him to score tonight. And then he's cycling the puck around on the power play. And I'm like, you're in your office, Ovi. Like, what are you doing? So it'll be interesting to see tonight because he loves to tee off on the Blue Jackets. It always feels like he gets a couple goals against Columbus every single night. But before we even get into it, I actually think the Jackets have a really good chance in this one. There's no question about that, be it that the Capitals are a struggling team, similarly in the standings right now as the Blue Jackets, but also the Blue Jackets beat them at the end of the preseason for dress rehearsal night. And that's got to leave Columbus with a lot of confidence, but it's also, I'm sure it left Washington with a bad taste in their mouth because that was a home game for them. They had all their NHL guys on the ice. That was the TJ Oshie hit on Adam Fantilli night. Do you remember that? And then Adam Fantilli had a goal against them to get them back. But this was a game that at the end of the preseason we circled and we're like, I can't wait to watch this one again because they had a great bout at the end of the preseason. So I'm super excited about this one.
Yeah, I just want a little bit more on Ovechkin, I think, before we take a quick break here. Currently, he's got 2 goals in 9 games. He's tied for, I believe, 11th in the league for shots on goal. He's got 40 shots on goal in 9 games, so that's an average of a number that I can't think of right now. I can't do math, it's fine. But it's not like he's not shooting the puck. It's just he's shooting at 5% right now. His career average is 12.9, so he's like way below. It's gonna rebound. I feel like he always does this. He always goes through like the first month and has like 2 goals, and then he starts scoring in November, and everyone's like, right, this is the best goal scorer of all time. I get it now. I hope that he doesn't rediscover that against the Blue Jackets. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Like I said, I feel like he always has at least one against the Blue Jackets, which is stressful. But they just, I don't know. I think part of it, I think, is that this team is old. Part of it, I think, is that they have lost some key people. Obviously, they've lost Nick Backstrom for an indeterminate amount of time. Like you said, TJ Oshie has not really been producing. I'm trying to pull his numbers up right now in the 700 tabs that I have open. TJ Oshie only has 1 point in 9 games so far this season.
Crazy.
Like, that's not good enough, you know? Anthony Mantha, who was supposed to be a big part of the team, has 2 points in 8 games. Kuznetsov 5 points in 9 games, and then you start to get into like Tom Wilson has 5 points in 9 games, Dylan Strome 6 in 9, and then Ovi leading the way with 8 points in 9 games. So again, I'm sure that it'll rebound, but this feels like a really good time to take advantage of a weak Capitals team for the Blue Jackets that are, you know, riding high on some good individual performances. I do suspect there will be some shenanigans with TJ Oshie. I wouldn't be surprised if they put Olivier in the lineup tonight. I suspect Voronkov also might have something to say to TJ Oshie because it was a clean hit. It was a welcome to the NHL hit. I had no problem with the hit. I do.
It was
think
preseason though.
They will be introducing themselves to TJ Oshie, I think. We'll take a quick break. When we get back, we'll talk a little bit about goaltending because I think that's a big question mark for the Capitals and somewhat less of a question mark for the Blue Jackets. So we'll talk about that in just a second. First, though, I've got to tell you guys about Parkview Advance, because as a business owner, you realize that there are times when receivables might fall behind, but that doesn't mean that you need to fall behind on vendor payments, payroll, or rent. For more than 25 years, Parkview Advance has helped businesses secure working capital from $5,000 to $1.5 million. Parkview Advance can approve your working capital in as little as 24 hours. It's a way easier process than you think. They are inviting all of the entrepreneurs that are Locked On Blue Jackets or Locked On NHL fans to learn more by calling them at 203-675-0071, or you can go to parkviewadvance.com. If your business needs working capital, you can call Parkview Advance today. Parkview Advance, helping businesses with their working capital. Once again, go to parkviewadvance.com. I also want to tell you about Indeed, because when you're drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish that you could do the same thing with your business team? If you're building a roster to win the league, you need Indeed. It's the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. You don't have to spend hours on a million different job sites looking for candidates with the right skills. You can do it all on Indeed. I am not a business owner. I do not hire, but I have been unlucky enough to have to be job hunting over the past couple of years, and Indeed is the only site I use. I think it's easy to use. I think it's really sleek and smooth. They've got a ton of different hiring tools. They've got Instant Match. They've got virtual interviews. And over 80% of employers on Indeed will find quality candidates whose resume matches their job description as soon as they sponsor a job. So you don't have to wait, 2 weeks for all of the resumes and the letters to come in. You can do it basically immediately. Indeed knows that when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. So with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. Visit Indeed.com/locked-on for you to start hiring now. Once again, that's Indeed.com/locked-on, LOCKEDON. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing isn't available for everyone. Need to hire, you need Indeed. Let's talk a little bit about goaltending, because I wanted to talk about Elvis in this episode anyway, because I watched the Tampa Bay game and I genuinely thought to myself, this looks like a different goalie than the goalie we had last season. In terms of just how he looks in net, he looks smoother, he looks more confident. Last year there was a lot of what I always term as cat fighting a laser pointer. I always term it as cat fighting a laser pointer. When a goalie is kind of flailing about, and we saw a lot of that from Elvis last season. It didn't work for him. He looks like a way more confident goalie, and I think that's helping the team, and I think that's the team helping him. I said it in kind of yesterday's episode. Last year's Elvis would have fallen apart probably halfway through that second period. The Blue Jackets would have lost 5-1, and we'd be mad about it. Instead, we're excited because they're talking out a big 4-2 win against a very good team, and Elvis was a huge part of that win. I believe he was named the first star of the game in the arena last night, or Thursday night when the game was. We're recording this on Friday afternoon. By comparison, it feels like the Capitals have a big question mark in goal. They are currently rolling with Darcy Kuemper, who I think is fine. I don't think he's a game changer. I believe he was the goalie when the Avs won the Stanley Cup, but I also feel a little bit like you could have put me in goal for the Avs on that cup run, and they probably would have done okay. So he's 3-3-1 right now, has a 294 save percentage, 294 goals against average. A 294 save percentage would be dire, and an 899 save percentage. So his stats are roughly about where Elvis is, but I don't trust him to be as good as the Capitals need, especially because they're not scoring goals right now. So they're having to win games by outscoring the other opponent, and it's not working super well. It's not working none, but it's not working all of the time. So that could be a really interesting matchup. If the Capitals go with Kuemper, which I assume they will, they might go with Lindgren, their backup, but I wouldn't recommend it. The Blue Jackets could go with Spencer Martin, who's been very good for the Blue Jackets, but I would assume an Elvis versus Kuemper matchup, which I don't know if you have thoughts on that, Hayden, but that feels like a matchup that's gonna go in the Blue Jackets' favor.
I believe they also have a young chap by the name of Hunter Shepard who started this little 3 of 4 game run that they went on. So the Capitals start off the season 1-3, or excuse me, yeah, they were 1-3-1 to start the year, and then they beat New Jersey last week on Wednesday night, NHL on TNT. You know, like the big show. They beat the Devils on the road, and I was shocked. And they did it with Hunter Shepard, who played his first NHL game against the Devils, and I'm like, great win for them. And then they came back and they won 3-2 against the Wild, and then they beat San Jose 3-1. You've watched a lot more of San Jose than I have. I've heard San Jose is not that good of a team. Let me just say that.
They are suffering at the minute. It's fine.
And they only beat them 3-1. I don't know if Kuemper is like, he definitely had a rough start to the season. I mean, he was a part of that 6-1 loss to Ottawa earlier this year, also a 4-1 loss to Toronto this year. But you're kind of right. Like, they are a team similar to the Blue Jackets in the sense that they need to score goals in order to stay in games. And I guess, like, if there's one team that has struggled to keep the puck out of the net in the past, if there's one goalie that has struggled to keep the puck out of his net in the past, it's Elvis Merzlikins. I have to fully agree, though, with everything you said there. Elvis has looked much better this season. He looks way more confident in his own crease. He seems to be moving around his crease correctly. He also just doesn't lose the puck as often. It just felt like so many times he was losing the puck, like wouldn't know where it was at. And he's also just not being caught on like a million 2-on-1s all game and every
That's
game.
definitely helping, is that there are way fewer odd man rushes. I can't tell you how many times last season I would watch a game and there would be a 3-on-2 or a 3-on-1, or even like we had a couple of 2-on-0s because this team was just so brutal. And you'd be like, yeah, that's going in the net. But maybe this is premature. Maybe this is just me being a homer. For the first time in a while, I feel confident about goaltending with this team, and that's probably going to come back to bite me, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I feel confident with Elvis in net right now.
Well, I will also say you're positioning yourself on the correct side of that take, because the Blue Jackets at some point are going to get Daniil Tarasov back, and I think we'll even feel better about that goaltending room, like, if I'm being completely honest. And maybe a huge portion of the credit goes to Nicholas Backstrom, who is the Blue Jackets goaltending coach, who has done a tremendous job with them so far, from all things considered, be it that they had a guy in Spencer Martin that wasn't even on the team at the start of camp. Mm-hmm. And then he ended up coming in and he's put in a lot, which we haven't seen any of him recently. It's been mostly Elvis, which is a good thing because that means Elvis is getting work in. And yeah, if you look at some of these losses that the Blue Jackets have had, like, they're not all his fault. Like the Stars game, I think the Stars, they have 2 empty netters in that game, in that 5-2 loss. So, like, he's kept the Blue Jackets in games. They also lost to the Islanders 2-0. Like, he had the Blue Jackets in that game as well. They just couldn't score. Turns out nobody can score against the Islanders because the Capitals are coming off a 3-0 loss to the Islanders on Thursday night, which, taking a look at the Metro standings right now, Islanders are definitely a team we didn't think about when we were thinking about, like, who's going to be in the playoff mix. And now it leads all 3 of the New York teams leading the Metropolitan Division. And then the Hurricanes and the Blue Jackets at spots 4 and 5, with the Capitals at 6. So big points on the line, right, Jay? This is huge points on the line for Columbus. They actually play the Capitals again this month. They play them obviously tonight, and then again in a couple weeks, November 18th, on another Saturday night in Washington. So it should be a fun little 2-game stretch against those guys. And then the Blue Jackets finish off the season series against them in December at home. So just 3 games against the Capitals, 2 of them in this month. Chance for the Blue Jackets to get on the right side of things against this team, because I do believe that if you beat a team once, you kind of have that team's number the next time you play them around. I don't know if you feel like that. I tend to think that it works like that, where just a team goes into a game with a lot more confidence. So I expect a really good effort out of the Blue Jackets tonight. We know Pascal Vincent is gonna get the boys fired up. That if there's one thing he's good at so far, apparently it's getting the boys fired up, because Erica Branson said in the second and third intermission against the Lightning. He had a good speech that got the boys going, so that's good.
Yeah, I would love to be a fly on the wall for one of those speeches, because I do think he is a phenomenal, like, public speaker feels like the wrong word I want for this, but I feel like every time he has a press conference or anything like that, I find myself listening to this dude and I'm like, yes, no, I fully agree. Even if it's something that I don't actually agree on, I'm like, you know what? You make a good point, Pascal. So the dude just has, I think he has the guys behind him. I think he's managed to unite the room, which, considering how we started the season of he had the job for 4 days before training camp started. And we were all like, is this going to be a fractured locker room? Is it the vets versus the rookies? But like, it feels like everyone is kind of united behind Pascal Vincent. I think everyone wants this to work. And I think he believes in this team in a way that I don't know that Brad Larson ever did. And sometimes that's all you need, is if you believe in something hard enough, sometimes you can make it happen. So I have a good feeling about this game. These are the games the Blue Jackets are going to need to win, because they are basically 4-point games. The Washington Capitals are a point behind the Blue Jackets right now. If the Blue Jackets win, they go up 3 points away. If they lose, then they fall behind them a point. These are the teams that the Blue Jackets are going to be battling with to make the playoffs. If they can beat teams like Washington, if they can beat teams like Tampa, who I expect to be probably in the wild card mix, but probably at the upper end of it, of like fighting for third in the Atlantic, but definitely an option for a wild card spot. Like, if you lose to Dallas, for example, which they did the other night, that's fine. I feel fine about that. It's a Western Conference team. It's a legitimate Stanley Cup contender. Losing to them is annoying, but I feel fine about it. You know, the games against the Capitals, the Tampa Bay Lightning, even like the Islanders or the Rangers, those are the games that the Blue Jackets need to be winning. And so it feels weird to say that there's a lot at stake for this game on November 4th of the season, but this feels like an important game for this team. And we'll probably talk about that a little bit more, but we also have to make some predictions. So we'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. Before that, though, I have to tell you that the show is sponsored by BetterHelp. It's the holiday season. It's getting cold outside. I struggle a lot with kind of seasonal blues, and if you do as well, BetterHelp can help you. You don't have to worry about this time of year being, a lot. It's natural to feel sadness or anxiety, but adding something new and positive to your life can counteract some of those gross feelings. Therapy is a bright spot for me, and it can be for you as well. You can look forward to it. It makes you feel grounded. It gives you tools to manage everything that's going on. Like I said, I have benefited from therapy a lot in my personal life, and there's no shame to that. Like, therapy rules. I think that everyone should be in therapy, even if you are, the kind of person that thinks, I'm really happy in my life. I don't have any stress or trauma or anything like that. I still think therapy is a really good thing that people should do to kind of empower you to be the best version of yourself. If you're thinking of starting therapy, then definitely give BetterHelp a try. It's all online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire. You're going to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. If the first one just isn't working out, or the first one isn't for you, BetterHelp can give you a new therapist at any point in your therapy journey. Find your bright spot this season with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnHL, LOCKEDON NHL. All right, let's talk a little bit more about just kind of the Capitals versus the Blue Jackets in general. Let's make some predictions, because we are batting a negative 1,000 at the minute. I am still on 1 point. Hayden is still on 0 points. I believe both of us are on a 5-game streak of getting 0 points. But how do you feel about this game? going into it, Hayden? Do you have a good feeling about the Blue Jackets winning this game?
I do, Jay. I do have a really good feeling that the Blue Jackets can win this game. I think, one, it's going to be a very entertaining game, be it that TJ Oshie and Adam Fantilli already have some beef. Tom Wilson, who, of course, is leading that team in penalty minutes again, he's going to find somebody to have beef with on the Blue Jackets, be it, could see Sean Corrali. Sean Corrali seems to like to get in the mix with these guys. I could see him beefing with Tom Wilson tonight. I could see Boone Jenner beefing with Tom Wilson tonight. So I think this game just in general is going to be emotionally charged because both these teams are also in a similar spot. Like they're kind of floating in between tanking and going for it. And it's funny because the Capitals are in that state despite having guys that won a Stanley Cup together. Like they should be kind of on the same path that the Capitals are on, but they're not. They just, for some reason, it hasn't worked out this year. The Blue Jackets, bunch of new guys, don't know what this team's going to be yet still this year. It's a huge opportunity for Columbus to take a couple points and really establish themselves in the Metro. How they do it, it's by just playing the same way that you have been playing, which is break up passes, take advantage of opportunities on the power play, frustrate teams when they are on the power play, and just give Elvis a little bit of protection. I expect Provorov to have a better game. I think he probably knows that he played like garbage. 2 games ago, it was Jake Bean and Zach Werenski that played like garbage, and I thought they had a great game 2 nights ago against Tampa Bay. So these guys are pros. They've had bad games before. I think they'll bounce back. It's just a matter of, can you keep Elvis hot, and also can you keep the puck away from number 8 on their team? I'm going to take the Jackets in a 4-3 win tonight. They've lost 7 of the last 10 against the Capitals, but I'm going to take the Blue Jackets in a 4-3 win, and I'm going to take Igor Chinakhov to get a goal, the first goal for this game. And his first goal for the Columbus Blue Jackets this year. What say you?
First of all, I want to say how annoyed I am that I talked a big game about, man, I should pick Marchenko, but I'm not going to. And then he did, in fact, score the first goal against Tampa Bay. So, like, this proves to me that my knee-jerk reactions should be correct. I'm going to go big here. I'm going to say a 5-2 win for the Blue Jackets. And in terms of goal scorers, I feel like we are overdue an Adam Fantilli goal. So I think that's going to be my guess. Is 5-2 win for the Blue Jackets, an Adam Fantilli goal, and everyone in Columbus is happy about how things go down. That's kind of all we've got for today, I think. No episode tomorrow because it's Sunday and we need at least one day off. We'll be back on Monday. We'll talk about tonight's game against the Capitals. We'll be looking ahead to whoever they're playing next. I don't know. Why don't I have the schedule up anytime I do this? No one can say.
Panthers on Monday night.
They're playing
in Florida. In Pantherland.
They're in Florida on Monday night. So we'll look ahead to the Panthers game, the Sergei Bobrovsky revenge game, as always. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms. We're over on YouTube. We're on Sirius XM. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find Hayden over at HaydenH971 on Twitter. And you can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets. You can email us at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. Once again, we'll be back Monday morning talking about tonight's game against the Capitals, not the Islanders, like I keep wanting to say. Until then, make sure you stay locked on.